Te Ururoa Flavell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Finance. To the Minister, does he still believe that following the government's review of the foreign investment rules that New Zealanders are able to feel that those things that they think are important about New Zealand are protected? And what influence did the outcome of that review have on the Overseas Investment Office's decision to grant consent to Carter Holt Harvey to sell more than 17,000 hectares of central North Island forest blocks to a company with ownership spread between 10 countries, including the United States, Saudi Arabia, Denmark and Liechtenstein?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, yes, I do stand by the comment, but I can confirm for the member that the changes the government made in the overseas investment rules to implement the government's approach, as outlined in my comment, had no bearing on that particular case, and that is because the application for consent was received on the 3rd of December 2010, and the new regulations came into force after the 13th of January 2011. So the application he refers to was actually approved under overseas investment rules put in place a few years ago by the previous Labor government and Winston Peters.
Te Ururoa Flavell.
To the Minister, what advice was received from Central North Island iwi about the decision to sell off 18 North Island forestry blocks to a US-led applicant group?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the government wouldn't have sought advice from anyone in particular. I mean, once an application is lodged, then the Overseas Investment Office deals with it consistent with the Overseas Investment Act, and make a recommendation to the Minister. It's not a consultative process.
The Honourable David Parker.
To the Minister, how many proposed sales of New Zealand rural land to foreign owners have been declined pursuant to the changes that he made to the overseas investment rules, which he said just then came in on the 13th of January 2001, noting that the likes of the Crayford Farm were declined under pre-existing rules?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of any applications that have reached the point where a decision is required under the new rules, but it's simply a matter of time before they are. My understanding is overseas investors are taking note of the government's concerns about undue aggregation and also a positive direction for them to have a New Zealand content to their proposals, which would make it easier to get approval.
Te Ururoa Flavell.
Ask the Minister what checks and balances are in place with American-style corporate investment applications to ensure the commercial exchange to a foreign owner does not erode our own local institutional, intellectual, social and physical capital.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, those constraints are laid out in the Overseas Investment Act of 2004 or 5, I think, passed by the previous government and Winston Peters. Since then, the government has made a couple of extra changes to the regulations which create higher hurdles with respect to rural land. Of course, the terms of that piece of legislation are always open to debate, but we believe they strike about the right balance between protecting things that are valuable to New Zealanders, but at the same time allowing the kind of overseas investment which helps to create new jobs and higher incomes in New Zealand.
Question number 7, the Honourable David Cunliffe.